Is it worth building a 600 horsepower car?
Good morning, Stupid Fast Nation. How are you guys doing today? Today's video is going to be a little bit different from the normal. I'm going to show a couple things that I have going on here in the shop, and then I'm going to get started on the actual video. I've had a lot of requests to do a cost estimate on what it costs for me to build this car. So I'm going to run through a price list over on the whiteboard, and I'm going to list everything out into two categories. I'm going to do one category that is everything required to literally make this car 600 wheel horsepower, and that'll be literally like the drivetrain and everything like that. I won't include any of the NHRA spec stuff like the cage and that. I'll separate that into a second category, and that way, like for those of you who want to build a 600 horsepower car that is street driver and not something you're looking to, go 9 seconds with or anything like that, then you can see what it takes to build like a daily driver, reliable 600 wheel horsepower car. As far as the NHRA stuff goes, I'll put that into a second category. And then for all of you who want to see what it's like to have an NHRA spec vehicle for 600 wheel horsepower, then you'll see what the total is at the end of the video. Alright guys, so as a lot of you have mentioned in some of my videos, you've noticed the 69 Chevelle over here in the corner of the garage. Today's a very special day for this Chevelle because I'm actually getting rid of it. I have a guy coming from Tennessee. He literally drove yesterday 12 hours to come pick this car up. It's in pretty decent shape. There's just a few rust spots, and the trunk, actually the trunk pan has to be replaced, and then also this quarter's got to be repaired, and there's minimal spots underneath, but nothing cancered through underneath. The interior's in decent shape. I have a brand new bench seat cover for it. I have a brand new package tray for it. It has 43,000 miles on it, which probably aren't original because it's a 5-digit cluster, so it probably rolled over at least once. So it's probably around 143. It does start up. It's just a stock, semi-stock 350 with a mild cam and fuel-y heads, double humps, Edelbrock carb, open headers, and it's got a power glide transmission and an aluminum radiator. I have a bunch of extra parts that are going with it. This guy's coming to pick it up today, and actually he should be here pretty shortly. So something I keep forgetting to talk about over and over and over again, I have this engine. Okay, now this is very special to me because this engine I picked up in West Virginia about 3 months ago. Now what happened was I was on Facebook searching the interwebs, and I found this thing listed for $1,200, and I was amazed because it's a completely forged engine. I have everything from intake to oil pan to make this thing run. It came disassembled, which is even better because I was able to inspect all the bearings and everything. Now, this is an aluminum block 5.7. It's bored and stroked a little bit. It's got a 4-inch Texas Speed crank. Everybody seems to be using Texas Speed these days. I heard they're very, very good. So it's 4-inch. It has, so that's a Cali's Texas Speed crank. It's got Arius pistons, Eagle rods. According to Eagle, with these rod bolts, they should be good for, I think they said 1,200 horsepower. This winds up coming out to a 383 stroker when it's all put together. Now I have everything to put this together. I have 241 heads that came with it. I have an LS6 intake that I probably won't use because I want to put a sheet metal intake on it. But I won't start assembling this until winter rolls around. The reason why is I want to take that crank out and get the crank and the rotating assembly balanced because I'm very meticulous with details, and I want to make somewhere around 1,100 wheel horsepower spring of next year. And so I want this thing to be completely sound and able to handle what I want to put through it. Also, as you can see, it's got all ARP hardware. All the caps are all ARP studs. It does have ARP bolts for the heads. Those I'll get rid of and ditch those for the ARP studs. And I'll probably either get a set of ported heads or get those ported, or take the 243s off of this guy right here. I'll take the 243 heads off this and the head studs, or I'll just go get new imported heads. We'll see what happens. Alright, now with all of that stuff out of the way, we can get down to the meat and bones of the video. So we start with the engine. It's a stock bottom end Gen 3 I picked up for $400 with wiring harness and ECU. I added ARP rod bolts. They're about $100. Head gaskets, $160 for both. Double timing chain kit was $130. LS9 cam, $130. LS2 cam conversion, that was $60. All you do is buy the front cover with a sensor off eBay. Dual valve springs were $200 about, and I installed them myself. Sorry for the horrible handwriting. Trunion kit was $150. ARP head studs were $400 roughly. Alternator relocation kit was $100. Injectors were fast, 88 pound an hour. Those were $300. Add 243 heads for about $500. Thermostat was $20. Rad and fans was $520 because it was a 4-core off CJ's Pony Parts. Turbo kit was $2,600 shipped. I did get the billet wheel version, that's why it was a little bit more. K-member, UPR, that was about $1,200. I got that from Carlisle. Transmission was an FTI off Summit Racing. It was $1,800 with the internal transbrake already installed. Capable of 900 horsepower, and it was a stage 4. Transcooler, $200. That's including lines, fittings, etc. Converter, PTC converter set up specifically for my car, $1,000. Drive shaft shop drive shaft, $1,000. Built 8.8 rear. The brace kit alone was $240. I'm not including the price of the 8.8 rear because it was already on the car. The center section with the spool and everything, that was an extra $600. That included axles and the C-clip eliminators, which technically could go into the NHR stuff category, but because the spool and the axles are heavy duty, I think those are necessary to handle 600 wheel horsepower. And then you have the cover itself. That was a Drake cover off late model restoration. That was $140 as well. Gauges for the whole inside, those were $1,200. Two-step kit, MSD, that was $300. And to get it tuned, that was $600. Alright, so let's do some quick math. So that gives us a total of $14,050 for everything you would need to about make this car 600 wheel horsepower. That doesn't include specific things like the fuel cell and certain things in the fuel system, like adding the second pump, because I did make 600 wheel without the second pump. Moving on, the next two lists are a lot simpler. You know, and these are things that they require for you to run so fast on the track, and that's, you know, if they check it. But with that being said, these are the prices of what I NHR spec'd my car out to. Cage was only $400, but me and my father installed it. The harnesses are $150 a piece, but I got 2 of them because I have 2 seats. The shifter was a Hurst quarter stick. That was $400. Had the neutral safety switch and the push button in the middle for the 2-step rev limiter. Also, the seats, I have Jazz Racing seats with covers and sliders underneath. Those would be about $220 a piece, and then 2, 1 for each side. Let's do some quick math. That gives us a total of $2,200 for the NHRA stuff. That's actually not that bad. I'm sure I'm probably missing a couple little things here and there, but that's a general list. Now we're going to do the optional list. was $500. Those are the biggest single piston front brakes you can get for a 4-lug setup. We have the rear disc conversion kit for the notchback, because they came with drums from the factory. That was $850. The stainless steel line kit, that was $300. The master cylinder was $100. The proportioning valve, so that the front brakes get more pressure than the backs, that was $60. QA1 rear coilover conversion kit, that was $500. Slicks were $500. I'm not even including the price of wheels and tires in this. This is basically just a quick list of what I can remember off the top of my head, that I tried to build this car to handle the 600 wheel horsepower without basically killing myself going down the track. So let's do some quick math. And that gives us a total of $4,280. So that gives us a grand total $20,530. Now, this is a quick estimate, okay? There's a lot of stuff I did not include on this $20,000, and that would be things like panels to go inside the car, the rear tin kit, the Lexan window, obviously the wheels, any panels for the body. This doesn't include the price of the car. The car was like $900. It needed floors, stuff like that. This car came as a bare chassis with nothing on it. So until you're said and done with the rest of that, you could probably add about $8,000 onto this. Depending on what kind of rolling chassis you're going to start with. If you start with one that's in good shape, say you get it for like $2,000, which they're out there, they can be had. And then you can drastically reduce this. You know, you could be looking at something like this instead. But that's, you know, for NHRA spec. If you're doing something that already has brakes, you don't need to upgrade them. You just throw a set of slicks on it. And you want to do something a little cheaper, you just go ahead and do the drivetrain list. And then, you know, you could be at under $16,000 for a 600 wheel horsepower car that's capable and semi-reliable. I mean, you know, it is a Gen 3 bottom end, but everything else is reliable minus the rods and pistons in the engine. As always, if you enjoy the content, hit that subscribe button.